Welcome to episode 46, 64, dyslexia, of Relics of Orr. We've got a ton of stuff this week. We had an interview with ArenaNet, which got a whole lot of people viewing it. So you've probably already read it, but we'll go through and give our takes on some of their answers. We'll talk a little bit about what we've been up to in game, and we're also going to talk about some of the events that are coming up, as well as one that passed this past week. And the advantages that guesting has. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm joined this week by Cole. How are you doing this week, Cole?
Doing pretty well.
Cool. Spirit, how are you? You're also here.
I'm well, thank you.
Won't bother me. I know my way. I'm not about just sticking out.
Cool. What sorts of adventures have you guys been having in Guild Wars of late?
Well, with all these changes, I mean, for me, it's mostly been fractals because you get so many of the dailies done in fractals and stuff like that. So a lot of ascended pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nice.
I've been doing all the fractals too. I actually picked up, with the help of Twit Guild, major shout out to them because I finally got to run on with them the other day. With the help of Twit Guild, I got my second ascended ring, and I've got an ascended back piece, so I am all set except for an amulet, which I'm working on.
Nice. I finally got a ascended back piece this week after I went into a fractal complaining that I hadn't had any purple crafting mats drop, and immediately one dropped, and so I discovered once again that the best way to get what you want out of a dungeon in Guild Wars 2 is to complain that it hasn't dropped for you. And then and make sure it's on like voice chat, because apparently ArenaNet is hooked up to Echelon. And so what's happening is whenever someone says, I wish I had X item, and it is on like this list that the US government has of Guild Wars 2 items, they just ship it to ArenaNet, and ArenaNet then says, okay, well that account, it's complex. But anyways, that's how you get things from ArenaNet.
I'm pretty sure we're about to get it assassinated now since you've divulged that information. So
Everyone knows Echelon exists. You just have to apologize to them if you say anything untoward. Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Ted, that's listening in to me from Echelon. And you just accept that that's happening.
fair enough.
And we're all Americans here, so at least speaking. I'm not sure in chat. I think Stefan's not from the U.S. Maybe.
Stefan's over there going, I want to get some credits.
I'm out. This is boring. Worst episode ever. Oh, no. Because I think he's the only one in our chat room right now. He is! Aww.
Oh,
We're so lonely. Come
No,
watch our
Stefan's
show.
worth 1,000 viewers.
It's true. We love you, Stefan.
He's like, all right, stop talking about me.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with that. Cole, you were running dungeons and stuff, fractals. Where am I? All right, we just had a January update. I'm gonna update myself and say that we're having the January update. So that's got some interesting things that have gone along with it. They've had a lot of blog posts on the website. What have we seen about the change in loot rules? Cole?
Oh, you're asking me? Okay.
Yes.
I figured I've been talking too much.
I guess
already.
I've been talking for like... I watch these episodes and I go back and I'm like, wow, I think I had like 50% of the airtime.
That's a host for you.
And then Spirit has like 2.
For the January update, I have to say there's a lot of complaining that I just don't understand, because this is my favorite patch that's come along. I won't say it's been seamless by any stretch of the imagination, but I like the game more now, that's for sure. As an example, we got some new loot rules. If you go into a lower level area on your 80, so say you go to Blood Tide Coast, you actually have a chance at getting rares of your level, things like that. And so that's pretty cool. You're not taking it too bad in the shorts by going somewhere lower. But they've also made it so that when you are down leveled, it makes it more challenging now. So that basically you're made weaker by the down leveling process. And the upscaling process as well has been tweaked to make you stronger. So Evie, Stefman, and I had this great idea that we were going to go into fractals on my level 45 elementalist, Evie's level 30 something elementalist, and Stefman's 40 mesmer or something. And he's like, we got this because he's a mantra medic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm suddenly just so secure now. And we beat the Asura Fractal. Not that it was easy by any stretch of the imagination, but then after that, we got to the Dredge one. Evie said, F this, and then we all just left. So,
No. Yeah, that's a frustrating
the upscaling
one.
process, it does seem stronger now. So
Nice. So we're more survivable. So would you still say wait until you have an elite, though, to go into fractals?
oh yeah, I would say that for World versus World as well. I don't know. That might be a debatable.
If it's Zerg v Zerg, you're just, doing your thing. You're just like one more blip of damage. Now, if you've got server queues, you probably don't want to go in if you're not 80.
Yeah.
Because then you're actually gimping your server. Which
that's what I kind of mean is you're taking someone's place who would be doing a better job. But
so,
if it's empty, then.
So the really big thing that came out, speaking of World versus World, the really big thing that came out with the patch is guesting. And locked servers. So have people been taking advantage of that, Spirit, as far as guesting goes? What have you been seeing?
There's a couple of Relics of Orr guildies who are not on our server. They decided to go World v World elsewhere, and they've been playing with us now because we've got guesting. And I myself guested over to Jade Quarry. I intended to make the Twit Guild meetup and ran out of time. But I did do the guesting. It's real simple, real easy to do. The only thing was there was a patch right in the middle of it, and I had to re-guest after the patch. But other than that, super cool, super easy. Love it.
Nice. So it's pretty easy to just hop over. One thing I've been hearing about World versus World is there are actually queues again, which I think for quite a while there weren't a lot of queue issues. Or is that? Do you guys know about top tier whether or not there were queues? I suppose we're like the worst people to ask about that.
Is it? I think it was. Well, did the servers reset this week? Did the ratings reset?
Yes,
this week?
ratings reset.
That was a big thing because now all the World v World guilds have moved around to their server that they're going to stay on, and so they reset the ranking so that to just start fresh. So everything was totally different than the tiers we were previously familiar with. So all the big World v World powers pulled in everything they could to try and get,
into the top tier for next week.
Yeah,
because I'm certain our server is just getting eaten alive.
No, actually, last I checked, we were only 1,000 points behind Warlords Pass. We're in the third of the three, but there's only like a 1,500 point gap between each. Last I checked. So.
Wonder what our ranking is going to be. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, we have some people that are. We'll need night cappers though.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we have. So, good luck to Northern Shiver Peaks. I will not be doing much World versus World because the monthly this month doesn't require it. And that's another big change that came with the January patches. Dailies and monthlies have had some significant changes to them. Cole, what sorts of things have they been doing to the dailies?
Well, when they first came out, there was one, it was like the combo killer or something. And I think what they were intending was that you just kill something by using combo fields, and that it didn't necessarily mean it had to be the killing blow. But anyway, some people were saying they were getting it to progress by doing the killing blow with it. And
the killing below it was it was coded so that you had to kill it.
For some people though.
Yeah.
Not even killing blow. So Colin Johansson finally weighed in when they took it out, and they were like, not working like we wanted it to, so they just took it out.
Apparently the issue was if you were a condition character that was stacking conditions along with it, you could have, like, if you had bleed, and bleed did the last bit of damage to it, or if you stacked, like, fire, you set something on fire, and you didn't insta-kill it, or kill it really quickly, the fire could tick for the last hit, and that wouldn't count as the combo, because it had to be the actual damage that was dealt by the combo. So that was the issue, was that a lot of these combos add conditions onto the enemy. So the best option would be to do, like, a regeneration combo, where you're healing combo, so it guarantees that the combo would actually. So if this actually ever comes back, that would be the best way to do it, is to drop your healing AoE and then shoot through it, and pray that works. So there you go.
So far the dailies have been really pretty easy. There's like daily dodger, you have to dodge so many attacks. There's the gatherer and crafter. If you have gatherer and crafter for your dailies, go gather, then refine what you gathered, and you're probably gonna come out like even or making a little bit of money doing it. So just a bunch of simple stuff. The monthly for us also right now, there's like dungeons, which I've found fractals do not count towards, which suck because that's all I've been doing is fractals. But it's good that they're doing that because it makes people want to go do some dungeons some more.
Now, there's been some controversy about the daily dodge, I've heard. Spirit, what have you heard about that?
People don't know how to dodge right, which is really surprising to me. I think somebody on Mumble was talking about people in map chat and Orr didn't know how to get their daily dodge because they haven't been doing it right. And basically, you have to time the dodge so you get the evade notification, I guess, and that counts towards your thing. What Christian and I did to get ours was we kited around a bunch of drakes with the long charge up attacks. Very easy to see, very easy to dodge, and we just picked it up that way.
Nice. My favorite way to do it is go find one of the veteran worms that does the large rock that he spits at you, and then just wait for it, and then dodge away, and then run back up to him and sit there. And so you'll have, what's been hilarious is I've been doing this, and players, because there's more people going out and doing stuff right now because there's more people playing, will just like rampage through and kill the worm that I'm farming my daily dodge on. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and they're like, aren't you glad I did that? Gun shows that.
So, yeah, it's interesting, some of the gameplay things that have been happening with that. Oh, yeah, I'm liking I'm enjoying it. There's some good places. There's a few good places that are sort of like your optimal synergy locations. I know that Northern Gandharan Fields, the entire top part, you do all of the Centaur events and res a bunch of Seraph, and then you go all the way east, and there's those battle pits, where you go in and you choose an enemy to fight, and that's how you get your daily variety, and so that's a good place. What are some other good places to actually farm your dailies to make it go really quick and you can go and do something else?
I heard that Metrica Province has a lot of good spots.
Yeah.
For dailies.
I think there's one, the reactor, I think, is one of the better ones.
It's up in the top left corner, and there are downed NPCs all the time. There's different kill variety because it's chaos themed. There's all kinds of stuff up there. Gathering nodes not too far away. Veterans as well. So you have to do the daily veteran slayer. So
the way I've been doing it is pretty simple. I have two 80s that are at level 10 fractal or above. And little PSA here, it's your daily, as far as I understand, if you're getting a pristine fractal relic, that means you're getting the daily done, right? You don't get those every time you do a 10 plus. It's just for one daily you get it, right?
As far as I know, yeah. I don't know.
So
I'm still level 4 or something.
My logic works based upon that, and I get a pristine fractal relic on each character that is at a personal reward level of 10 or above when they do 10 or above. So basically what I'm saying is you can get your fractal daily done as many times as level 80 10 plus characters that you have.
Really?
So, yeah. Yesterday I got to for the past 4 days I've just been so easily getting pristine fractal relics.
So if you have 5 80s, you can just buy a ring every day or every other day.
I'm thinking, yeah.
As long as they're at 10 plus fractals, because you'd have to get each character individually to 10 plus fractals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be a lot of work to put into it, but
I'm about to work on getting my mesmer there as well, so I can do 3 a day if I can fit that kind of fractal patience in. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. Plus, you think about how many more chances that is at a ring. Although I haven't gotten 2 rings in a day, so I can't verify that that's actually possible. But if you're getting 2 pristines, I'm thinking so. So yeah, that's the way I do my dailies. Is I'm like, well, I got to do fractals anyway, so I'm gonna go in there. And it's probably gonna take care of Dodger, kill variety. If you're running with thieves, it's gonna get your daily healer. Sorry, but there are a lot of NPCs actually to res, like in that Ascalon one. Oh, geez. Plus, everybody dies in that one at the end. Rally to me, Ascalonians! And it's just like, that's the call of death after level 10. People are all going to die, especially when you're going with these pugs. So, yeah. But it's still fun. I'm still just having a load of fun doing this crap.
Nice.
And usually by the time you're done, you're like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to gather, some stuff. I'm going to craft it. Look, daily's done. Great.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really the only thing you can't pick up, because it even does events, dungeons, and fractals complete daily events.
Oh, that's true.
Really, the only thing you're missing is gathering, and you can just easily pop down to Orr, wherever you need to gather and do that as well. So.
Cool.
And if you're short some events, you'll get that in Orr while you're running around. Probably just walk in
Yeah.
and smack a new creepier abomination in the face and be like, "Later, guys. I've tagged the event."
Nice. So what have they done with monthlies? I know that they remove World versus World. How do you feel about that?
I'm indifferent. I didn't find World versus World a big hassle. I don't do it a whole lot, but I do it enough that I can pick up 50 kills. And I do it maybe 2 nights a month, tops, or I don't know. I'm enjoying World v World more the more I do it, so I've been in there more often lately. But it wasn't a huge issue to me, so I'm pretty indifferent about seeing that one gone. The bigger for me is the salvage one, because I get really annoyed buying all the salvage kits. I just sell everything because I'm terrible.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. If it's not rare or exotic, sell it.
Yeah, just
Wasn't
straight.
like that one, by the way.
Well, I mean, there's certain points in times with the blues where blues can be cost effective. I know that a few people have done researches for and it seems like it's a good idea to salvage blues occasionally, just because blues apparently have a higher chance of dropping like gossamer and orichalcum.
Orichalcum.
That thing that Christian knows how to pronounce, but I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, aluminium.
I'd have to do that. I'm
He's
saving
from
up.
New Zealand.
So that can be. Although I've heard it both ways on those. I pretty much just sell. I figure if most of the econ sites agree that selling the blues is good, they're probably right, or they're just messing with me.
Which is possible also.
It's possible. You're always a little bit iffy there because you're like, these people know what they're doing. Are they just creating artificial bubbles? And I think some of them are, but I think the vast majority are actually giving us good info. So,
yeah,
I like reading your websites, guys. Keep posting news. The interesting thing about monthly... Go ahead, Cole, actually.
I was going to comment on the loot thing, though, real quick. The one thing they also introduced was these little wooden chests that are supposed to contain uncommon or higher loot. And that's a cool idea because that's a very cool way of saying, hey, there's something over here. You really want to loot this, don't lose it. But it kind of sucks because right now I'll go over there and loot it, and I'll get this gray talon of some kind. It's not a crafting. It's trash. And I'm like, that's not really what I think you guys were going for there. I got really excited, and that was nothing.
It's supposed to be uncommon and better. It's supposed to be the only thing that you get, which is blue?
Yeah, I think so. And I think they know that this is going on by now because it's happened to a lot of people. So I just joke about it now. But it's like, hey, cool, broken lockpick. Got that out of a wooden chest, man.
Yeah. Well, see, someone else already took what was in there, broke a lockpick getting in there, and they just threw that in because they're like, useless, and then closed it.
Seems legit.
Yep, that's what's going on. The back on the monthly. So this month we've got dungeon runs, daily events. What are the other two? Events, and salvages. Salvages was an interesting one because the night that salvage came out, the salvaging market exploded. Like the salvage, discarded garments, scraps of metal, they all, some of them quintupled in price.
Wow.
They went up from 10, I think the cheapest one was about 30 copper for a long time, and it popped up to a silver and a half at one point last night. It was insane.
How does that make sense? Who's buying that?
Well, there were two things probably. First of all, the monthly salvaging title, which requires you to salvage 200, I believe, items.
Mm-hmm.
So people just went on and they bought those straight and did their salvaging really quick. And you can occasionally profit off of those. It's not super common to necessarily profit, but there are ways to make it work for you. And so a lot of people did that. Simultaneously, people saw that, oh, hey, the salvaging is going to be something that's going to be selling well all month. So I'm going to buy up a ton of these. And they were going to, and as far as I could tell, they probably were hoping to save the salvaging for an extended period of time. Or, jack the price up and then resell. And I think that failed because the cost of salvage items has recovered already. It's back to where it was. And it doubled, and then it went back within a day. It was amazing. I didn't think that it was that robust of a market.
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be insane for like the first week. So that's me on my salvaging stories and econ nerd. It's what I do. It's not actually what I do. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I try, but I'm waxing at best.
So aside from the monthly update, we had a new update as another part of the update, which was Living Story. Spirit, can you tell us a little bit about that?
So with the Living Story, they've introduced 2 heralds into every major town. They're these little gold stars on the map, and if you go talk to them, they'll give you updates on whatever is going on in Tyria, because it's going to change over time. At the current point in time, there are refugees streaming down from Wayfarer Foothills and Yessa Plateau, and if you run outside Holbrook, hang a left up the main road, and just follow that. There's refugees all along the way that need help. There's signs broken down that you can fix. You can check on, there's dead refugees that you can take mementos off of and turn into collectors. And if you help so many of these people, you get a volunteer title. And along with that, you get a piece of mail that has a refugee child's drawing in it, which you can consume, because that makes a whole lot of sense, for 5k karma. So I went and did that the other night, picked up my volunteer title and nommed a child's drawing. It was really cute. I felt bad about it.
It's like this. You take this random thing that I got in the mail and you just sort of crumple it up.
It's got your fiber. Upkeep your regular.
There you go, 5k karma.
Yeah, so the refugees are streaming into the cities, and over time, there's refugee camps in both Holbrook and the Black Citadel, which I believe are growing over time.
Cool.
So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. For me, the most disappointing thing about this is none of the refugees will talk to me. They all are like, "Oh, we're fleeing," and I'm like, "From what?" "Oh, we're fleeing. We can't talk to you right now. We're fleeing."
We're fleeing.
Where are you going? I don't understand.
There was this amazing blog post. It was either by, who was it? It was either, I think it was Ravius, actually, who we had on the show a little while ago for our dungeon run. He was talking about the fact that he's like, so, I see that really nice hostel or this inn, and I see this bar, and you're just booking right past those. They're not really in trouble at all. Like, you could go stay there. Why are you going south more? And the events are so small that it's not like, they did this huge, oh, the sky is falling, the earth is rupturing open, we're all going to die. And then you go into the zones where it's supposed to be happening, and you're like, it's kind of pleasant. This is nice. I'm gonna fix this sign that points to the city that it's right next to. Okay, I can understand. That makes sense, though, just from a breadcrumb sense of gameplay. So the person pops out and they immediately see, oh, I'm supposed to do this. So that makes sense. But from a gameplay, obviously not a real-world standpoint.
It's like,
for an immersion, your character's sitting there going, and then they get this big hammer from out of nowhere, and they're like, fixing!
But the Fix-It hammer is my favorite weapon.
Fix-It hammer is amazing.
My favorite everything in Guild Wars 2. There's an event, it's for the heart over in Kessex. People rarely see it because the event never fails all the way. But if the centaurs push all the way back to Fort Selma, they'll destroy the houses, and then you fix them with the giant hammer.
Oh, that's right. I've done that a few times. That is awesome. There's a few, actually. There's one in... it's either Northern Dredgehaunt Cliffs or Lonar's Pass, where you have to, it's Lonar's Pass, and you have to fix up an inn that's just like nestled away on a hilltop. and you go around, you fix and you fix like fences. And the cool thing is it shows their phasing technology, because once you've completed the heart, anything that you left unfixed is fixed, and now it's permanently repaired and up and running for you, which is cool. So that's I'd like to see more of those sorts of hearts, because I've seen like 3 of those in the entire game, where you fix something up and then it stays fixed in the game.
But with the issues they have with events, I wonder if they're kind of being humble there. And they're like, let's not make more problems for ourselves. And
yeah, it seems to work really well from what I've seen.
it does
there, but maybe it's in small chunks where they've like aggressively tested it.
Right, which would be smart.
Yeah, so we should be seeing a lot more with the living story. They've been saying that we're going to see things like new buildings. There is a mystery starting up, because we've been seeing some dead people that are charred, and there's char marks on their arms, and they have blood coming out of their ears, and they're dead. So there's dried blood coming out of their ears, and they're charred. But the char marks aren't what. This is Guild Wars 2. These are scattered around the maps, and people don't know quite what. It's a hint as to what's coming. So this is apparently we're looking at like sound and fire that is going to be killing people, because usually when eardrums break and stuff, you get blood coming out of your ears.
So it's a heavy metal concert.
So yes, it's a heavy metal concert with in Norway. So we're being attacked by a
metal group.
They are
a rap group.
They could be. I mean, Crystal Perp. You think that he's a rapper, but Big Z, this could be, and they're pretty angry right now because Big Z, their lead singer, is dead, killed by a bunch of people who came into his house and just put a cap in him with a giant floating blimp of doom.
I really like that analysis of the Saitan fight. next time we go do a Raw story, I'm gonna put a cap in him.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Several thousand. And so there we go. The dark backstory of the Elder Dragons. Note the Z for their actually heavy metal. Which I guess fits. If it's like Norwegian heavy metal, that kind of fits. So there you go. They're going to have to replace it. They're going to replace it with someone that has the beef roast equipped.
I have to laugh every time anyone says it. It's just funny.
If you don't know what the beef roast is, then it's the Bifrost. It's a legendary.
No,
thing.
You're saying it correctly when you say beef roast.
Yeah, beef roast.
Beef roast.
We just add a little bit more emphasis on the beef part.
Yeah, beef.
It's what's for
legendary.
It's what's for legendary. Oh no!
Oh,
so moving on. We had an interview this week with ANet, or we got one back. I submitted it earlier this month, and it actually was a pretty good process getting it back. Apparently, I've talked to a few people, and the turn time was really good. And we got some really good answers, and we had an exclusive reveal, which I was pretty excited about, in the bar brawl information, which caused some hilarious controversy. At least I thought it was funny. Cole, what exactly was the controversy with the bar brawl?
Basically, the idea for the bar brawl and how to succeed is manipulating everyone else into letting you get the last hit. So it's kind of like, you go ahead first. Go ahead. Hit.
You got this.
You go first, ladies first. And so, anyway, a lot of people are like, this game's supposed to be about cooperation. I'm like, yeah, and also going to a healthy food restaurant is about getting healthy, but they're still going to serve dessert. What are you expecting out of that, Tofu ice cream or something? So this is like an aside. It's another thing that you're doing. It's a mini game. Get your panties out of your butt.
I compared it to Last Hitting in League of Legends or Dota, where it's not kill stealing per se. It's a game made out of getting the last hit.
It is literally a game about kill stealing. I mean that is exactly what the game is about. Which I think if it's isolated to that, they've shown that. And this is one thing that I was worried about with the Ascended gear, was that they were going to obsess over that. But what they've shown is that they're looking at keeping things quite broad. So here's this activity over here. You can do this. You can do this. If you want to go for Ascended Gear, well, that's really only going to help you in high-level fractals because it actually makes everything else easier. So running dungeons and stuff, you don't need Ascended Gear. You can do everything in exotics pretty much and be fine. And so I think people were freaking out because they're like, oh my goodness, now they're going to focus on last hitting and we're going to lose all the cooperation in the game and people are going to hate each other. The sky is falling, which it's not. And we can verify that because even though they said the sky was falling, it's not.
Just signs and come on, baby, light your fire. Light my fire. I've messed that up. Go do the refugee thing. You can do that.
Yes, there might be fires to be lit.
So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the controversy is. I mean, usually I try and see the other side of it, but geez, gotta calm down. It's gotta have somewhere to kill steel. I want to do it.
If you want to do that, go play LOL, nub. Oh
gosh, the food, Tina.
So we got some interesting things as well we got a bunch in the interview. They talked a little bit about the zone design philosophy. We asked them about zone design philosophy for in-game and talking about how they learn things from Orr and from Lost Shores. And I think we actually have an example of that in the recent update with Orr, what have they done to Orr, Spirit?
They thinned out the mobs, and it is wonderful.
If you
did
Orr. It's amazing.
Zone completion before, anything down in Orr, you couldn't run 2 feet without being yanked across the map. And
speaking of which, not only that, the putrefiers, because I've called them purifiers, the putrefiers no longer yank.
What?
Yes, I know. I was running along and I saw a putrefier and he threw his anchor at me and I dodged, but I misdodged it because I'm terrible at this game, and it hit me and I didn't go flying, and I was like, wait, what? And then I stood there and I killed him, and then I ran up to another one and I just sort of stood there and stared at him. I stared at him and he threw his thing and it hit me and I didn't get pulled, and I cheered and then I killed him. And so you no longer get pulled thousands of feet away. By the putrefiers. It's a lot nicer. I mean, there's still some rough spots in Orr, but I'm fine with the rough spots being rough spots. I thought it was... I cheered into
and the
Mumble.
mobs look different, too. Like, they came running
That's
out.
That's true.
Penitent Camp is fixed, so I'm back there again a lot. And they come running out there, and they're all looking like freaking evil. She gave me water. And so you're like, what's up with that? That's kind of cool. And then out comes this abomination. I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah, they unified the size. They unified the sizes of abominations.
Yeah,
which is.
But the one thing, if they can get around to it, and I doubt they ever will, and I don't really care, but just throw it out there. Being a larger giant thing does not make gravity affect you in slow mo. If you go to take a step and you're this small, and then you grow, you don't suddenly go. Apologies. I fail at this.
Use the other hand from the other side.
And you're just big. It's not making like maybe you have a little more air resistance or something, but I know it's actually just about like you have to change the actual coding and the travel pathing, or you could just slow stuff down, and there you go. So it's pretty much just a little bit of a cheap trick on their part.
Otherwise, otherwise, those things, they're so big. The abominations are so big. They'd just be shuffling. They'd be like this, but their little feet.
But Giganticus lupicus doesn't do that. He's like
that's because Giganticus lupicus moves like a maniac, and he's terrifying.
I mean, a big thing can still be fast.
It's true. Giganticus lupicus is. We just did that fight. I like that fight. Speaking of which, they've removed res running. We'll just move along. Remove res running. It has... What do you think about the general effect of the removal of res running, Cole?
Well, right. First of all, they need more waypoints if they're going to do that, because after everybody's wiped, they're kind of irritated. So come on, just a few more waypoints. But I don't know. Like with Lupicus, it was already such a long run anyway. By the time the whole group did wipe, when it did, it would have regardless, and there would have just been people halfway back by then, I'm thinking. And there were some things that I never really realized. I was running on a profession I'd never done it with before, which was a warrior. So I was kind of learning as I went. I'm like, well, you could use endure pain you could use stability. And I'm learning all this crap. It's also going to go back and make it even easier on the Guardian. So I'm kind of like, okay. I think I was irritated at first, not because of the loss of the waypointing during combat, but more about having been on a new profession. Regardless, anyway, one thing I would say is I wish what they had done was turned off res rushing by making a cooldown when you die. So when you're completely down, you have to stay there for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. But eventually, if the other people can keep the boss in combat, you can eventually go back and then start heading in. I think that would have been a little better. It would have added the dynamic that they were looking for, but not completely hosed everybody.
I think for some fights that would have been useful, but I think for other ones, not sure. I'm actually liking the lack of res running, except for the fact that they almost always, when you die, it's like, okay, well, now you have to start back at the beginning of the dungeon. And that kind of annoys me, is that they've just put these ridiculously long distances in. So to get back efficiently, I throw on my travel skill, and then I get to the boss, and I'm like, we're gonna fight him because we just got here. Let's go. And then I'm like, oh, my travel skill is still equipped. That ended poorly. Although I discovered with the Giganticus Lupicus, I want my travel skill equipped because it actually let me get. Because my 25% Signet of the Locust on Necros allowed me to move out of AoE faster. And I suck at moving out of AoE, so if you ever were like doing the last fight against the Lich King in WoW, and he drops that little bubble that grows as long as someone's standing in it, yeah, I wiped my guild who knows how many times, because I'd be like, I'm trying to get out, guys, I'm trying to get out, and it just kept growing, and I'd like try and jump outside of it, and it would keep growing faster than I could jump out of it, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and then they yelled at me, and so I stopped doing those fights, because I'm actually terrible at this game. That was WoW.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
But this is not a WoW podcast, so I've done a few dungeons since the patch. I've done Twilight Arbor, I've done Deatha's Path, I've done halfway through Orr, because right before the show, woo, got Giganticus Lupicus on farm, and I think the fights are pretty. Most of them are okay, but I think that there are a few that could use some tweaks.
Yeah. Sivin,
so we'll see.
Specifically. High Priestess of Doina. You didn't fix it, Robert Haruda. I'm telling you now, it ain't fixed. Oh, it's like that Saturday Night Live skit. You ever heard of that one?
No.
Fix it! Never mind.
Nope.
Just Google
too
it.
Young.
I'm not going to sidetrack us too
We're
much.
Sorry.
Terrible about that. But anyway, I would say that something else that might have been a better idea is to introduce checkpoints like they had in Fractals.
Yeah.
As opposed to waypoints in
Just get rid of the waypoints entirely.
Get rid of the fracking waypoints.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was gonna say get rid of the fractals, but then I was like, wait, no. Speaking of fractals, they've fixed the disconnect issue in fractals, haven't they?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
sort of. It's fixed. There's one little caveat, which I guess it's in there to deal with a potential exploit that I have no idea what it is. But if you disconnect and then reconnect, you're dead. I don't know if you take gear damage for it, but I do know you will be dead and they will have to resurrect you.
I think that's a universal thing. I don't know. Because I think it's the same code as DCing in World vs. World, where if you DC in World vs. World, you get killed. Because...
If you DC in World vs. World, aren't you teleported back to your base?
And killed.
Oh, and killed, even.
Yes, if you're in combat.
Ah.
Because people were Alt F4ing in World vs. World. And
Well, those
Oh, yeah,
bastards deserve it.
yeah.
right. So, but it affects DCs the same way. It counts the same. So,
Gotcha.
But
It's not that bad, really. I
No.
mean, a lot of times you have to send someone out, or the group will have to wipe. But I mean,
then you just go back to a
and if
checkpoint
everyone
and
was
you're
out
good.
of combat, then no one really gives a damn.
Yeah.
You'll just go to checkpoint. So
So
Yep.
that's pretty
Um,
nice. I also
I-
like the fact that you can run whatever fractal level.
yes,
The choice, because I'm at fractal level 7 now. I was at 6, and I was able to get into a level 10 fractal and experience that and finally experience agony because of that new feature, and that was great.
you're so glad you got to experience agony.
I am actually. I think
Just think
agony
about
is
the
an
word.
interesting mechanic. And so far, from what I can see, most of the bosses you can tell when you're going to get hit with agony. And so there are ways to deal with it. So I think a good group can manage it, which is probably why people are getting up to level 90 fractals, because if you get the right fractals as you're leveling up, you just, like, okay, I dodge here, done. And it's not like, I don't think skills trigger faster in higher fractals. They give all the bosses like quintuple quickness at level 90 fractals, so that they're just like, bam, instant AoE, instant AoE.
So to be clear about what they've done with the levels of fractals, you can go into the level of fractal, the highest level fractal earned by anyone in your party.
Yeah.
You're typically going to see people instead choose the highest even one available to the party, and above 10 preferably. But anyway, what you're going to see a lot of people doing is there are two levels that you now have fractal wise. There's the one that the party can do, and then the one you have. So there's the personal reward and current level. The personal reward level increases so long as the one you've just done was higher than your personal. A note about that though, if say you're level 7 and you go in and do a level 12 with a bunch of people and you succeed at it, you're going to bump up to 8, but you're not going to get the 10 daily. You actually have to get your personal reward to 10. Then you can do anything between 10 to 19, or I'm sorry, 10 to 18 and get your little thing at the end.
The interesting side effect of this is that very few people are doing odd number fractals.
Right. There's no point. Just find somebody who has 2 higher than you, do theirs, you've increased.
Yeah. Well, eventually, if you find people and they're all like, well, we're all at 13 to get to 14, we all have to run a 13. So you'll have to do that. But for the most part, there's enough people that are up in like the 30s and 40s to where they'll be like, oh, sure, I'll do like a 10 or something, or a 20.
And can't you do a 10 daily and then a 20s daily?
Yeah, each tier has a different daily.
So you can now...
Of course they'll do that.
Oh, so now that actually improves your rate at which you can get stuff. That's nice.
Yeah.
Which I like the fact that I still was able, even though I was a level 7 fractal, we ended up doing another 10. I might be at 8 now. I don't know. I can't count. But you can get that Jade Maw even though you're an odd number, which means that you can get that extra loot, regardless, even on odd numbers, if it's like the first one you do that day, which is nice.
Yeah, very nice.
So lots of cool things.
They've changed a few things too in the fractals. I've noticed. Just to throw a few out there. The say the swamp one.
Yeah.
When you're running past, those little walls come up. I found you can head out by jumping over stuff like you used to do. Like you could kind of jump over the stuff that appeared. But on that last wall going in, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody's done otherwise, but since the patch, I can't jump in. So you actually have to find the route that they gave you.
We'll have to run that tonight and find out.
Yeah. And there are a few other things like that. You're not going to stand. They've made it so if the mob can't attack you and you're attacking it, it goes invulnerable. So you can't stand in the tree and shoot at the moss man.
The Hobbit technique has been nullified.
Yeah, it has. And I'm kind of glad for that because every dungeon people were finding a way to do that. And I'm like, well, this game is just now becoming pretty much just a Zerg fest. And it's not really.
Well, it's an exploit fest is the problem, and that gets boring.
Yeah, exactly. I still went with it when people were doing it. I want to be the wet blanket, but I'm glad now. It's just like you have to do this now. So
there were a few fights where I just like charged straight in, and people were like, "So we're gonna do the exploit?" I'm like, bloop, running in.
Yeah.
And then I started fighting. They're like, "Well, I guess we're not exploiting this one," which was fun. I like trolling people like that. Do it right, or don't do it at all. So some other things that they've talked about in Fractals in our interview is we asked them if they were planning on doing any Guild Wars 1 type encounters in the Fractals, and they said that was a cool idea. They didn't really give us any solid answer with that one, but they did. At least apparently they do have people looking into that. What fight would you, of all the fights in Guild Wars Spirit, which one would you want to see as a Fractal?
Oh, there are two that come to mind. The first is Shiro, because of his how he teleports you away and how you have to deal with the ads to I don't know. I like liked his mechanics, and I feel like if we translated them into Guild Wars 2, they could be really interesting. The other one is Abaddon, just because it's a huge boss encounter with multiple parts going on, and I feel like that could be sort of akin to the Jade Maw, a very large, kind of like what Tequatl was meant to be, or like the dragons out in the world, where there's several things you should be doing to defeat him instead of just DPSing his face, but you would have to do that in an organized group setting. So I would enjoy that very much.
Nice. Cole, what fights would you like to see?
In Guild Wars 1, there was one point at the time that Eye of the North was released, and they released a pack. I forgot what they called it.
Oh, the bonus mission pack.
Bonus mission pack. That some of those things I would love to see, like Turai also fighting Halawa Joko and things like that. If we do end up, though, as Spirit said, doing those things, for one, let's get a better voice actor for Shiro, please. And then for Abaddon, let's make it so in the end, what's her face? Cormyr doesn't become a goddess. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
Alternate reality story. Oh
Yeah,
man,
it'd be
hey,
like
that's what the
Spring.
fractals are. Fractals are alternate. I mean, they're bubbles off of reality. I still hold that my story. What was it? I wrote a story on TyrionStories.com, WordPress.com. You can see it down there about harmonics, which are essentially fractals, where you can pop into like this subsection of reality, and then it just falls apart when its time is run, which is what we're actually countering that in the fractals, because we're making them stay longer, which is one reason why all this crazy stuff is happening, because we're breaking reality.
What happens in the Abaddon one is there's an elementalist named Cole who shows up, and he dances, and then he dodges right when he tries to kill him. Then he goes up and he kicks his ass, and Cormyr's dead because she danced too. And then there's a god Cole of Truth. That's not going to work.
No,
That's not fitting. Maybe like a Balthazar type god, because like get real angry all the time. But
you should definitely, when they release Paragons, though, you should definitely roll a Cole Mirror.
Oh no.
Moving on.
That one I
This
know.
won't end well.
Oh no, I'm not sure what I'd like to see. I suppose maybe Malix would be a cool fight.
I never
That
got
could
to
be-
do that one.
You know,
Really?
I never fought him like
I fought him on normal mode.
actually.
I fought him
We,
on.
Go ahead.
What'd you do? How did you fight him?
Well, I ran it with Pig, so we pulled
Oh, so
some
you-
crazy shenanigans and didn't have to deal with any of his abilities.
Hacks.
Pig
Yeah, pig hacks.
Storm. That's what
Actually,
we did.
If they just re-released, they just cleaned the art up for. Well, no, they'd have to completely rebalance the entire Domain of Anguish. That'd be an amazing elite. Like, your first raid zone is go to the Domain of Anguish. They just recycle the entire zone. They're like, well, people wanted raids, so we gave them a raid. It's the Domain of Anguish. We just tweaked a few of the enemy skills. Deal with
They
it.
can
Italian.
take out that one. part.
Hey!
I can't remember what it was called. There was a boss in there that was a little bit shady.
Which
Oh,
one?
you guys haven't been in there, have you?
I've been in the Domain of
Yeah.
Anguish. Which boss? I've cleared the thing.
Stygian Vale, I think it was.
That was an amazing zone, and it was
Yeah.
terrifying.
No.
I hated the fact that the best way to do it was to clear the entire zone and then start the actual quest.
Wait, which one? It was the one with the...
Stygian Vale was with like all the horrors and the meat and the undead creatures, and they were like, "Nah," and then there were all
and
the
then
bones
boss in
sticking
the
out.
middle with the thing. No, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about it anymore. I'm done. This is weird. If you've played it, you know what I mean, and
It's awesome.
gross.
I'm a fan.
Mm.
You should all Speaking of which, I'll be playing Guild Wars pretty soon in order to get my. Is that going on right now? I think that's February 7th is when it starts. Is the Canthan New Year in Guild Wars? They're going to be releasing a mini pet that basically
I thought
is
it started
all
already.
Celestial. It might have already started. I've got to
I'm
get
pretty
to
sure
work
it
on that.
started last week.
Oh man,
last
I'm gonna have to
Thursday.
start farming then. Oh snap. No, I'll look it up. So, anyways, I'll be working on. Oh no, it started this Thursday. You're right.
Yep.
I remember looking at that. So you've got until the 14th. You can get a mini pet. So if you want to work on your Hall of Monuments, there you go. So there is that. And I'll be going back there. Maybe we will run Domain of Anguish. No, we won't. That takes too much time. Anyways,
People interested.
yeah, maybe.
Well,
We
we'll talk
shall
about
see.
it on the forums. If anybody's
will.
in on that, Loudon, if you're watching, I think Loudon would probably be up for it.
Yeah,
And he's
but
pretty
there's
much
a lot
the
of
person
people.
we need because he's like the super monk.
Oh, there we go.
So.
I don't mind having a super monk. Speaking of super monk, which is an amazing title for a player, they have. We asked them about titles in the interview, and they had some interesting things to say about how they were approaching adding more titles into the game. Spirit, what exactly were they talking about?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I know that they did say that they had teams working on it, so that's good. I really want to see improvement there, especially with how they're displayed. But yeah,
You can just go to our website and click on the interview. It's under relicsoforr.com, shotgun interview. Let's see. Titles. I probably should have just had this thing up and been scrolling down it as we go.
Yep.
Magic Find. I want to talk about that one.
We'll get to that one. Patience, young Jedi.
I'm
So anyways-
sure you don't ask me to tell you about home instances because I don't know anything about that.
So Cole, about home instances. No. So yeah, they've got a bunch of teams, and interestingly enough, the way that they're approaching titles is they're looking at it on a per team basis. So the Living Story team is like, well, what titles do we want to put in and associate with this? The Fractals Dungeon team is like, okay, what sort of titles do we want to put in here? The bot banning team is looking at no, they're not actually. That would be amazing. Like 3,000 bots reported and successfully banned. Bot Finder. That would be amazing. I want that title, ArenaNet Bot Finder.
you get a /rank and Doom pops up and reaps you.
That would be amazing. Doom shows up and like gives you a high five because
Yes.
you helped him ban people. In Guild Wars 1, Doom would show up, but it's only for bots that were banned that you reported. So you can't just go around reporting everyone as a bot. You wouldn't get work to it. It has to end up being banned. And there you
Stand by a
go.
node and or you'll find them.
They'll pop up and you're like, "Hello, ban." How are you doing?
Calling, dude. Not a bot. I swear to God.
You are such an eloquent and well-spoken bot. I will let you go. No,
Now that I
I'm
mentioned that,
reporting
we
you.
need to talk about culling before this is over as well.
We should. All right, I'll keep moving right along. Moving right along. That was in the Muppet movie, wasn't it? Anyways,
It was?
I think that was a song in there. Not the latest Muppet movie, like the ones that you were too small to know about, Spirit.
Oh,
You
I
youth.
see.
Youngin. Where are my dentures? Anyways. So yeah, Magic Find. They talked about Magic Find. Cole, take it away. What did they tell us?
So we pointed out that Magic Find is kind of creating sort of a selfish motivation for people within a party. And what happens when you put Magic Find on your gear is that there's another stat you could have had on there. So you become more of a liability to your group only to gain something for yourself. So we were asking them what they thought of that, and they acknowledged that. And they said, we do realize that's an issue. And so there was nothing promising here, but the fact that they will acknowledge that this is an issue tells you that it's going to get a change, which is good.
Yeah.
And I think for the people that are like me who are more technical about the game and care about the balance and the way things are going to actually work, I think this was the big draw for people like me because as I was reading through, I'm like, yeah, Relics of Orr is a good lore-based, audience and stuff. And then we hit this one. I was like, yes, that's a very big hit. That's a very big find there because there's a lot of complaining about it. But what they didn't say, I would have been a lot happier, is we're also investigating a little toggle button for right-click to target. Boy, that would have made my day.
I don't think we asked them about right click to target.
We didn't,
No.
but I'm
Wait.
maybe
Next
they'll do a little follow-up.
interview.
They'll be
Yeah.
like, so what did they say about that interview? Oh, right-click to target. Interesting. Okay. I'm sure they know about it.
I'm pretty confident they do. There's like super long Reddit threads where people are like, right click to target.
Well, I started
No. Did you? Okay.
No, but I participate in every one.
I can imagine. Everyone should complain about it. It's a terrible thing.
Nobody's saying they like it. So
I found people who were like, wait, that happens?
there
And
were
then-
some people like that, but most of them were going, so that's why I keep targeting
It's
stuff.
so true.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that they did, huge fix for Necros, they made the minions less aggressive.
Is that sarcasm?
No, that's actually a thing. But
It's
it didn't,
So
I think it's one of the two.
there's two issues with the necro pets. One was that they would just randomly go booking off after a mob, just that was nowhere near you. You hadn't targeted it even. You just glanced at it with your camera, and they're like, I think he wants to attack that, and then you just go, and you just watch your flesh golem just go.
Is that what you want?
It's like a really overeager retriever, golden retriever, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna go retrieve that for you. I didn't throw it, boy. Stop, and he just comes back. He's got like a duck or something in his mouth, and you're like, I didn't even shoot that. I don't know what's going on. And that's kind of what your flesh golem does, because he goes over, he kills the thing, and then he like shoves it in his mouth and drags it back to you, except leaving the loot behind, and it's terrible.
Watch your presence.
Spits it at your feet. It's really annoying when it's an abomination. No, so they got rid of that function theoretically. I don't know if it's necessarily gone, but they said they reduced that chance. The only problem is the other issue is that necropets will sometimes just not attack anything. So the joke that I'm making is that they made them less aggressive because far more often than not they don't attack anything. They're just sitting there and you're like fighting for your life, and your little shade is sitting there just sort of going, how's it going? I've got a Coke here, just drinking it, watching you. And then your flesh golem walks up next to him, and he's got like this big bottle of Simply Orange, and he's just chugging it in front of you, and you're like, no. Relics of Orr, brought to you by Simply Orange.
We wish.
We wish. That'd be amazing. Oh. And so you're fighting for your life, and they're just sitting there having a little tea party. Scones, Earl Grey, it's terrible. What really ticked me off was when my bone minions started wearing top hats and monocles. Then I just blew them up. I was out. So now I run with a well-build and corruption.
They have a motto of "Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood."
What?
There's a movie called that. I swear, it's like the longest movie title I've ever heard. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. And
all
I
right.
watched it. Message. Okay.
Was it any
Shall we
good?
move on?
Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll move on. Oh my goodness, so I have no idea where we are anymore. I'm lost. I'm staring at our show notes and I'm like, what am I looking at? Apparently,
Shall we talk about culling?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about culling, because they introduced the initial part of the culling update with this patch. So Cole, tell us about culling.
So if anyone who's not familiar with this, a lot of times you go into World vs. World or the Karka event back when it was going on, and if there's a lot of stuff, they don't want to overload your computer, so it renders kind of prioritized, models and players and or NPCs around you. But a lot of times there would be some key NPC, or in World vs. World especially, a player that you really should be able to see, and it's just like they're not even there, and then all of a sudden you're dead, and this dude's getting ready to finish you, and you're like, oh, hi there, it's nice to see you. Couple that with thieves and all their stealth, it's like they pop out of stealth, and in another 5 seconds, suddenly they're gonna, by then they've already gotten you with that 17k backstab. So what they've done is they've made it so that it's more based upon proximity. Things within a certain proximity have got to render for you, and they will render with kind of a toned down textures, and I believe it's kind of just stock, like you've always talked about, Eric, where
Which I don't think that's in game yet, is it? Is the stock rendering?
I think it is. I heard it was. I haven't seen it for myself. But I was in World vs. World the other day, and it's so weird because you're fighting these people, and I'm used to, once it renders a person, them staying there until they're way off in the distance, but you'd be like fighting these people, and suddenly poof, they're gone. You're like, I know that was not like Shadow Refuge. That was actually just a culling issue. So you turn on your speed boost, and you go running after them, and all of a sudden, whoosh, there they are. Ah, crap. So it does seem a little better to me, because I would rather see the guys that are within proximity to me as opposed to whoever got, first come, first served culling. So I think they said it's a work in progress, and they're testing a lot of stuff, and they want our patience. My feedback is you're on the right track. Still frustrating, but it's a lot better than what we had.
Yeah. Well, and they've managed to break friends and foe. They've got friend and foe, and they will render enemies before friends, before allies. And I think that's going to be helpful from a survivability standpoint. Sure, you can't tell exactly where your Zerg is, so you reverse teleport bomb the enemy It's like, boom! Did everyone teleport with me? What's going on? And they're all looking at you like, oh. Or they're like, where did my Zerg go? And they all run away.
Yep.
And that's how the reverse teleport bomb works, is you convince the enemy that there is Zerg left. Because you poured in and it's all you in one spot and it's your entire team. And anyways, yes, that.
It's good stuff.
Moments of silence for the moment of silence for the teleport bomb. Anyways, so other than that, so culling's good. That's been tweaked in PvE as well. They're going to keep working on that. One place where you never encounter culling because there's no one there is home instances. And we did ask them a few questions about home instances. They said that they do want to work on it. They didn't really give us a huge amount of information on it. It seems like they have plans and that they may be looking at possibly adding living story characters to your home instance, and parts of the living story will be started in the home instance. And it may not necessarily be just your home instance. It may be any of the home instances in the world. So maybe you have to go to the Char home instance to do something, and then human home instance. What sorts of things do you think that they could do with that? Spirit?
With the living story specifically, or the home instance?
Let's start with living story, and then we'll expand out as I start. I need a tinfoil hat for what I'm going to say.
I would like characters that react to you differently based upon how you have participated in the living story. So if you're not a volunteer, they say, hey, you should go out and volunteer because there's a whole crap ton of people that need help. And then maybe if you do have a volunteer, they'd be like, hey, oh, you're a volunteer. Oh, excellent. You've done this. So here are some other things you could maybe do to help out. Or maybe they could give you stuff. I wouldn't mind having, what if they gave you town clothes based on helping? I would like some town clothes, please. Yes, thank you. There was actually...
I would like town clothes that I can use in combat, Cough.
Oh yeah, that would be nice
Rant.
too. But I don't think that the living story NPCs have much to do with the
By George, I need
overall
to...
game systems.
If it's your home instance, that's where you keep your clothes.
So, Cole, what would you think that they could...
What are they doing in my house?
I don't know. What? We have a house? You have a house? I don't have a house in my home instance. I've got a bar
I have
in
claimed
Shongaq's
one.
home instance. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a room in the bar. I went upstairs and I told all the NPCs that this is my room and this is mine now.
Nice. Good RP there. Excellent work. Did you use like the hack that lets you push NPCs out of rooms?
No, I've
On the
never found
garden?
anyone in there.
Oh, well, there you go. Which actually does bring up, it seems like most likely with home instances, what we will ultimately move towards is that was where your instanced housing will be. Your player, at least the first iteration of player housing. I have a post on Tyrion Stories about where I think they could go with it, which probably no one has read. It's awesome. You guys should read it. Co-hosts. It's amazing.
We have.
Yeah, Cough. I go to that weird nerd RP site. But anyways, I could see them doing that. What I'd like to see with like Living Story is maybe adding more order stories to the game and having like maybe your character recruit one of your friends from like the early stories to bring that back together full circle. So let's say like, go ahead.
I actually heard something recently about they plan to expand on the personal stories because there was like the arcs would stop every 10 levels. So you'd have, oh, this is a good story, and then it would stop, and it was these little segmented stories. And the example that was told to me is one that might get an expansion was the human I lost my parents story, where you go through and you find out your parents were from the Shining Blade, and then there's nothing.
Spoiler alert.
So then I tried to keep it as spoiler free as possible. It's not very easy to do, but then after that there's no more. That's just it.
You're like, I know who they were, but I never met them.
Yeah, so if anyone has maybe a source for that, I did hear that was
that could be interesting
that they were going to expound on, but I haven't seen it concretely anywhere besides what I've heard. So if you know, let me know, because
That'd be cool.
I'd like to read more on that.
What I think would be
growing up an orphan and then finding out your dad worked for the FBI and being like, oh, cool. And then never doing anything about that.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's definitely some weird breaks in the story, and it's kind of sad. The the interesting thing that I found with, I'm gonna start over because my words were getting away from me. I was speaking without thinking, which hey, that's 90% of what I do. What I think would be interesting is after the war in Orr, I'm pretty confident, especially like Claw Island or Clar Island. Clar Island. Especially after that, the reason that they created the pact was because like they lost each order lost like half of their people at Clar Island, according to Traherne. They lost a ton of people, and so they had to form the pact in order to survive and all this other thing. But I mean, once you finally get to Orr, people are dying left and right in the personal story. So I'm pretty confident. So what I think would be fascinating is if they created like a series of short, just like one-off of random daily quests where you go out and you recruit random people. Like they create random name generator, and it's like go to this random location and talk to this random NPC, and do it like the Radiant quests where in Skyrim where it says, okay, well this person hasn't been on this map or this map isn't completed. And so they send you to that map to where you go and find people and recruit them. And maybe you go back into your your home instance and bring like your team that you had in the starting story, like the Char get their war band. You bring them into the order. Humans have like their friends. In 2 storylines they can die. But they can bring those guys if they survived into the order. And then you have some recurring characters there. And you could do that with text as opposed to necessarily a lot of speech. Actually, I think it would be interesting if they did like a motion comic style thing where you have like the speech bubble and then like them doing things. So you could do like a trailer.
Infamous.
Maybe I haven't played Infamous, but it would be like a typical cutscene, but instead of it being voiced, it would be text boxed. I don't know if people could handle that. They'd be like, I can't read it because it's panning and the guys are moving and then there's a text box, but then you like hold on the text box for a second.
But they're so big on the whole, they have tons of voice acting in this game.
But the problem is to add more content, though, unless they've saved that voice acting, it gets very expensive to say, okay, we need to bring Traherne back. Well, actually, probably...
No, they don't.
But if they wanted to bring, like, let's say they wanted to bring any of the Char War Band back, if they wanted to bring back your character's voice, because your character, the person voicing your character, those aren't cheap voice actors. I mean, you've got...
I'm a cheap voice actor. I'd do it.
Yeah, but you don't sound like Nolan North.
Hey. No, I don't. Refreshing.
So, I mean, and I think that's part of the issue. If they went to a text box and went with a more stylized type cutscene type thing, they could do that without necessarily, and put out more stories without having to go through, oh, we have to record a voice actor, edit the voice actor, and do all this other craziness. I'm always trying to think of ways to do MMO content without voice acting because it's so expensive and time consuming that voice acting will add like a month onto your production times for things. It's insane.
And it's questionable if it's been worth their while.
Yeah.
Nobody cares anymore. It's a great day to buy wine. It's a great day to drink it.
The problem is...
No.
The problem is, I think, is that if you do voice acting in a game like this, and then it's not there, people will really notice it. And I suppose that's why they would have to go with a very well done cutscene with organizing the text boxes properly.
I like it. They just need to spread it out more. Like if you're standing in the bank in Lion's Arch, you hear those kids, ghosts, monsters, and they're saying that over and over. You're like, there's got to be more than a minute between this conversation looping, for God's sake. It's not immersive.
It's just because you live in the bank.
I do. I AFK in the bank all the time. That's why I need a guild hall, man. Guild Wars 1, I AFK'd in the guild hall. Odin took over as soon as I AFK'd there. It was a nice system, and now it's like AFK in freaking Lion's Arch. I come back and a person's whispering, "Where'd you get those gloves?" And I'm like, "Piss, you've gone offline. I could have helped you." Anyway, all right.
You're a terrible person.
I'm in like this ranty way today. Sorry.
Oh my goodness, it's terrible. Oh, well, I think we've covered actually a lot of stuff. There is one last huge thing that we got from the actual interview, though. Now, this is perhaps the biggest reveal that ArenaNet has provided with the interview. Djinns are elementals that are highly evolved. They're highly evolved forms of elementals. So like normal elementals are like dogs and cats, and then djinns are like a human form of it. Which I thought that they were just a elemental that had been alive for a really long time, and then eventually gotten intelligent. But no, it's an actual like subset that like shows up as intelligent, and I thought that was awesome. And I'm a huge lore nerd, and people hated that question. Like, of all the questions that people hated on, that was the one that people were like, why did you even ask that? And I was like, I wanted an answer.
No.
If you played Guild Wars, though, the djinn in that game were awesome.
They're
So, like, I'm reading that, and I'm thinking about those djinn, and then I think of the Guild Wars 2 djinn. I'm like,
Zamoros is kind of cool. But yeah,
No.
that's true. It was mostly from the awesome djinn in Guild Wars 1, because there was always this weird sort of like they're intelligent, but yet then you see like some djinn that are not quite as intelligent, and it was like, so what are they? And they're apparently like
they're the flunkies.
Yeah. So we now know that djinn are an intelligent species as a whole, but they're more like the human version of elementals, which I would love to meet a god version elemental.
Abaddon kind of looked like one.
Except Abaddon is, as far as we can tell, that the gods are probably humans that got supercharged. They found a god mantle, and they're like, I'm going to like compact this in. Plus, you have the whole fact that the god's power can be taken over, as you see with all of the shrines in Orr. So what most likely is the gods were mortal at one point, and they figured out a way to basically take this power charge, like tap into a specific type of magic, and then supercharge themselves with it. And so the reason that the temples in Orr, when they're like taken over, are still functional and can still help the enemy is because they're just tapping into this same power. They're not necessarily drawing on the gods' power. And that is possibly why, since the gods have left, human prayers in Tyria are still getting answered. The gods aren't actually doing anything. It's just humans are so built to tap into that power that they're still able to. So that's my lore theory. I could be wrong. Wooden Potatoes, if you have made it through this entire episode and gotten to this part, tell me if I'm right or wrong. You know these things. I don't think he watches this show. I hope he does. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all that we've got for today. Hopefully Anexi hasn't DC'd from Ara. Poor lady. We've held her.
Has, in my opinion.
You just want to go run fractals. I want to go finish this. I want to finish this Jotun fight by George.
If you give me a raw with save points, like if you can leave the dungeon but save it and then come back throughout the week, I will.
That would be amazing. That would be an amazing function.
Sitting there for 2 hours to do one place that's going to give me greens, blues, and then some tokens.
I would love if dungeons basically raid lockouts like in WoW. Not the lockout necessarily, but the lockout saving.
People get mad when you say that because they're like, but then I would only be able to do it once a week. Okay, we're only asking for the positives of those systems.
Yes, not
you don't have to automatically include the negatives. So if you decide you want to reset it, you can.
Yeah.
But to be able to save it would be great.
That'd be amazing. So, ANet, please. Anyways, that has been episode 64. We talked about our interview. We talked about the patch. We were really on topic, and it still took us like 6 hours to do this episode. So, congratulations to us. We will see you guys in game. I am Shongaqu, and I was joined once again by Cole and Spirit. Have a good week.
Good day.
Night.
Peace.
Safety.